Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of the day it happens to be while you're watching. My name is Matt Doyle. I'm a UK-based author and occasional voice actor. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know I've been on a bit of a fitness journey in 2025, and that actually culminated with something I've been talking about for a little while, finally happening at the start of October. For some reason, I completely forgot to film a video about it, so I'm making up for that now. So, what happened? Well, I made the trip up to Hythe for AGF Fitness's AGF Strongest event, which was a amateur strongman competition. I was in the under 100 kilo bodyweight category for the Novice men's, and I have footage of all the events, which we're going to go through momentarily, and you can have a look and see how I did. I'll talk you through all of that, and then after that, I will give you my final thoughts. So event one is the overhead medley. We start off with a 55 kilo axle press. We then do two 25 kilo dumbbells filled overhead, which I took a little bit too long faffing about with getting into position there. You finish up with the 55 kilo metal log. It's a 60-second total time limit, and only the reps on the log count. I was very happy this was up first because the overhead stuff is my least favourite. It's the thing that I have the least confidence in. So getting that out of the way, I think, was really good for me personally. I got 7 reps total, which was more than I was expecting. I was kind of thinking I would get 4 to 5, depending how long it took me to get to the log. So I'm very happy with that as a total. You can see there rep 6 and also rep 7 were a little bit more difficult for me, trying to get my left arm to lock out. But, you know, the main thing is the weight went up. I got the point for it. So, yeah, I'm happy. Event number 2 was another 60-second time limit one. This was a 150 kilo deadlift for reps. We were using, as you can see, Hummer tyres to do the majority of the weight. This was an interesting one because I've never done the deadlift with tyres before, so like the bounce of them when they hit the floor, that was something new for me to experience there. In training, just using regular weight plates, I managed to hit 10 in 60 seconds, which is good. This time I actually managed to hit 16 on the day, which I was very happy with. It wasn't enough to win the event. I think I still finished quite highly on it, but it's definitely a lot more than I was expecting. And, I really can't ask for more than that. It's something that I was very proud of on the day. It was one of the events that I was most looking forward to, and that I managed to push it as far as I did. I'm happy. So sandbag toss was up next. It's a 3.6 metre high barrier. As you can see, I messed up my first throw on the 10 kilo sandbag. This is the event that I was able to practice the least, so it was always a possibility. Went over just fine the second time, as did the first 12 kilo sandbag, and then the second 12 kilo sandbag. The 14 kilo, I made the same mistake again of standing too far away from the bar, so that's once again managed to hit the barrier and had to go again, at which point in the 45-second time limit I just overdone it for myself and I could not finish the event. I still get the credit for the free though, so I didn't zero the event. It was just a little bit of a mistake on my part. Event 4 was a carrying medley, which really gassed me out more than I was expecting. You start off with a 60 kilo sandbag, chuck it over the yoke, and then pick it back up, carry it the rest of the way. I think the total distance you take it was about 20 metres, 10 on each side. You then have to run back and pick up an 80 kilo sandbag, which was a little bit bigger than I was expecting, not in terms of weight, just in terms of sheer bulk. And you can see when I get here, due to my height, I can't just sort of slip it over the bar. Unfortunately, when I went to pick it back up again, it did slip out of one of my hands. So you can see I dropped it and had to pick it up again, which actually puts a little bit more strain on you than you really want in this sort of event. You can see my legs have turned to jelly by that point, but I did get the thing moving and move on to the second half of the event. You start off with a 80 kilo power stairs, so you take that 3 steps and then tried to do the same again with 100 kilo. When I got down to the 100 kilo, the countdown was already going for the end of the event, so I made the decision to save myself for the last event and just take the credit for the free items. So event 5 was a mystery event, which turned out to be a Conan's Wheel. I was very happy about that because leading up to the event I had said that I'd love it to be a weird strongman event like a Conan's Wheel or a Hercules Hold, but I didn't expect it to actually be that. So I was very, very happy. For my division, it was 120 kilos. You pick up the big metal bar, you walk in a circle until either you drop it or the full 60-second time limit has elapsed, whichever comes first, and then your total distance is measured. I took it a total of 56 meters, which again was not enough to win the event, but it was a fairly high finish, I believe. It's one of those ones that does get really difficult the longer you go on it, though. You can see I've begun to slow down a little bit here, and I had to readjust it there. But, you know, I kept going. I kept pushing it. I was determined that I would take it the full 60 seconds, no matter how hard it was, and I did exactly that. So there you have it. That was what it all looked like for me in the end. I finished with 40 points, which was enough to put me in 13th out of 20. It was actually a pretty close field up to the middle of the table because 10th place only had 45 points. So, you know, the couple of rookie mistakes that I made, I think could have cost me a few points here and there, which, you know, if I improved on that, I could have been looking at a top 10 finish, which is really great. I had a lot of fun while I was there. Ali and the team were absolutely fantastic. I couldn't have asked for better people running my first competition, and all the other competitors as well. You know, we all got to hang out during the event and talk, and everybody was there cheering everybody else on and showing their support along with the crowd, and the more experienced people were giving advice and things like that. So it was just a really great atmosphere. I'm very happy to say that I'm going to be competing again up there in May. They'll be in the same category. There's only going to be a field of, I believe, 12 competitors in that one, so it's going to be a little bit harder to hit that kind of mid-table finish, but I do have some faith in myself to do better. I've got a much better idea of what it feels like now and what I need to do, and I've been making a couple of improvements as I've gone along as well. Really looking forward to seeing what the mystery event in that one is going to be, because I did not expect it to actually be the Conan's Wheel in this one, and I'm very glad it was, because that is something I've wanted to try for so long. So very, very happy with that. But yeah, so as it stands, 2026, I've definitely got AGF Strongest in May. I'm keeping my eye out for other local competitions, see if I can get to a few more. I want to try and do 2, 3, 4 competitions if I can, just to kind of really test myself and see how far I can push it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is the end of a very belated video, but one that I'm very happy to be talking about. So hope you all enjoyed that. Later.